But on some level, Jeremy Fowler, it feels like everything has just never been quite fine in Seattle since that moment. There were all the questions about whether they should have just given the ball to beast mode, whatever the relationships were there. Yeah. All the issues on the relationships with the defense and the Legion of Boom, all of whom are gone now, and it's become Russell's team. Pete Carroll obviously in the mix. But it has felt from that moment forward like all has not been just fine in Seattle.
Well, Greeny, it's quite simple. Russell Wilson believes that Seattle should be back in the Super Bowl. And since that's not happening, he's trying to provide input to the personnel department, to Coach Pete Carroll, to help make that happen. He has ideas. He feels like those ideas are being met with, okay, that's nice, but maybe a little resistance. So here we are. That's why he went public with his frustrations. And it boiled over in November. There was a meeting with the team and coaches and Russell Wilson, and he wanted input. It didn't go the way he liked, so he stormed out of the room. That was a true story that was reported in The Athletic. And so I'm told that Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson are still on very good terms. Pete Carroll is hearing Russell Wilson's frustrations, particularly with the offensive line. He understands they want to upgrade in spots there where they can. So they feel like it's still salvageable, but it could be inevitable that these parties part one day.
Bart, what is your sense of the dynamics of the relationships there?
I mean, listen, we see, the situation in Houston is very similar. You're not respecting my football acumen. You're not respecting the fact that I'm one of the best players in the league, that I know what I need to be successful. We watched Terrific Tom go down there and say, you know what, I need a receiver. Well, no, but we already got Chris Godwin and Edwards. No, I want Antonio Brown. Okay, well, I have OJ the Juice Man and Cameron Brate. I want Gronk. Yeah, but we got two great tight ends. No. Okay, so if I'm Russell Wilson, I'm saying, when do I get my input about what I need? Nobody knows my game and what I need to be successful better than me. So you're not, if I haven't proven to you that I'm a great football player, that I'm a guy that can think the game as well, then you have to respect my football acumen. And if you don't, then we have an issue here, because you think I'm just a player that should just go out and play football and not be able to have input on what I think will be successful and make me successful. So now we have a real problem. So of course I'm going to storm out, because you're not respecting me as a man. You're not respecting my football acumen. And when you don't respect my football acumen, then we have a real issue, because I know this game probably better than you, because I've seen it from the behind the eyes of a face mask. You haven't.
Yeah, so there's that dynamic between Wilson maybe and the organization. And then, Nico, you were making an interesting point this morning about the way that all the relationships will be strained when there is a moment like that one that we began there. Again, you were on the field for that interception that changed absolutely everything for two franchises and a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, look, listen, after that game, what was the narrative of that? That every single player on that team was being asked, well, why didn't they run the football? You have Marshawn Lynch, who had rushed for touchdowns in that game, and we had a hard time stopping him. So when you look at that play in particular, and you see, I guess, the whole team watch that play on the sideline and basically just fall over and fall down, because they were realizing the actuality that they lost the football game off an interception. So, I mean, that probably did a lot of damage within that locker room. The coaching staff, the quarterback, everybody was questioning that particular play. I wasn't. I was very happy with that play selection.
I would imagine that you were. Go ahead, Bart.
Yeah.
Well, Nico, I've always wanted to ask you this, because I said that was the correct play call, because as I look at that, only a few people will know, like me and you, that you guys were in cover zero, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So that means that you have more than they can block. Right, so it was a legal pick route, which is the right play. So everybody on that team could be upset but Russell Wilson, because they decided to put the ball in his hands and not Marshawn Lynch's hands. And usually a legal pick play works 1,000% of the time. So when people always say, hey, should have handed the ball off to Beast Mode? Yes. But would Beast Mode probably had got stopped for a loss? Yes, because you have an unblockable player that can't get blocked, that can hit you in the backfield. So so for Russell Wilson to be upset about that play, he shouldn't be, because they believed in him, and it was just a great play by the right time.
So I think that in order to wrap this up, there's only one way to appropriately do it. Rob Ninkovich, again, the pride of Joliet, Illinois. Russell Wilson has named the Chicago Bears as one of the teams he might go to. The Bears have been in existence since 1920 and have never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards in a season. What do you think Russell Wilson's addition would mean in Chicago?
All right, Grinny, let me get in character real quick for you, okay? I'm sitting here in the city of broad shoulders, Chi-Town, Chicago, the Windy City, where definitely we would love to have Russell Wilson. You think about Russell Wilson, what he could bring to Chicago, bring to the Bears. We would win the Super Bowl every single year. Think back to this. I woke up this morning, and I had myself a dozen egg omelet with Polish sausage inside. It was the best thing, grilled onions, everything. I was happy. Then I turned on Get Up. I heard that Russell Wilson wanted to be a Chicago Bear. And guess what? I almost fell over with a heart attack because of how excited I was. February 6th, 2022, the super fans and the Bears fans will be in L.A. They'll be grilling the Polish sausages. They'll replace the smog with the sweet smell of Polish sausage and bratwurst because the Bears
It's at the Apple. That's what every athlete wants, an opportunity to get two big deals. And he missed out on the first round. He's going to get one in the second and the third, just like Russell Wilson did, because he's been able to give the Dallas Cowboys a discount for the early part of his career. Now it's time for him to pay the piper.
Okay, fair enough, but let's just have some fun with it one way or the other. Ninko, just from a football standpoint, let's just assume we live in a world where they could figure out a way to make the deal work and the money work. Dak, straight up for Russell Wilson. Who says no?
Dallas wins in this one. I mean, Dallas would win by far because I feel like Russell Wilson on the field right now is the better quarterback. Russell Wilson is the better quarterback. If you put Dak and Russell Wilson together, I would say 90% of the people would say I want Russell Wilson just because of his leadership, what he can do on the football field. Dak, yes, he has improved and he's a better football player. But Russell Wilson basically is your franchise. So if you traded for Russell Wilson, number one, you don't have to worry about making him the highest paid quarterback because he's already under contract. And then that whole Dak issue would just disappear. And then Seattle would have to deal with that. So I think if you get a Russell Wilson, that would definitely improve your team. This is all hypothetical because it probably won't happen. But if I was Dallas, I would be winning if I got Russell Wilson.
If the Cowboys somehow managed to figure out a way to turn this complete mess they have made of the Dak Prescott situation into Russell Wilson, it would be one of the really genuinely great moves we've seen in the NFL in recent times. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Meanwhile, the Twitter question is up there right now on my page at ESPN Greeny. Which of these teams that Russell Wilson has identified as potential destinations should be absolutely moving heaven and earth to trade from right now? Bears, Cowboys, Raiders, Saints. Cast your vote on Twitter at ESPN Greeny. We'll check in as the show continues. Meanwhile, we're not done with the quarterbacks, because Dan Graziano is reporting that Deshaun Watson met with the new head coach of the Texans, David Culley, late last week. And in that meeting, Watson reiterated his desire to be traded and told Culley he has no plans to ever play for the Texans again. And then, as this news is breaking yesterday, Deshaun Watson went on Twitter and posted, "Loyalty is everything. Don't you ever forget it," which is interesting and tells us absolutely nothing. So, Jeremy Fowler, what is the latest now as far as Watson is concerned?
Well, Greeny, Watson is so dug in, I'm told, that he is willing to wait this out. I'm told there's a very real possibility that he could not show up for the preseason, not show up for the start of the regular season if he's not traded. He could incur $3+ million of fines during that process, but he doesn't care. I'm told the relationship is simply too far gone right now. There are no other meetings scheduled with the Texans. Deshaun feels like he said what he needs to, and so he's monitoring a list of teams that he thinks could be a good fit for him. I think at this point it's an anything but Houston plan. He would take a lot of different teams to get out of there, which makes the Jets, the Miami Dolphins, others in play because of the draft capital. But watch out for the Denver Broncos. They're intriguing to him. Even the Carolina Panthers, I'm told, is a team to watch out for because he knows they'll be aggressive. They're close to his hometown of Gainesville, Georgia, have some intriguing pieces on offense.
All right, so there's a lot of different possibilities as we sit there. Bart, what are you hearing? You talk to people all over the place. What are you hearing as far as the way this Deshaun Watson thing is going to play out?
I hear both sides are dug in, Greeny, and I really expect this to be a Carson Palmer type of situation when you think Carson Palmer wanted out and the Bengals dug in until Hugh asked for him in Oakland the next year. And I think that's going to be a staring contest. I think both sides are going to be stubborn, but I don't think that Deshaun Watson should try and sit out and not come in. I think you show up and you become a malcontent. You go there and you show up to practice, and then when they say or see that they're not getting any money back because he's physically there, you can be there without being there, Greeny. I mean, he's going to have to go full Tropic Thunder. He's going to have to go there. He's going to have to, play the game. That's the only way you get out. You look at James Harden. He showed up. He showed up in the fat man suit, and he got his wishes. Deshaun Watson's going to have to show up, not know the playbook. If somebody's going to be running a slant route, he's going to have to throw the ball out of bounds and make it where you can't even practice. We saw this happen with Brandon Marshall when he was taking passes from Jay Cutler, and he was batting the ball down every time the ball came there. You have to become that type of malcontent. You have to become that type of distraction. But they say, you know what, we just got to move forward because this isn't going to be beneficial. Because if you don't show up, you're giving money back. That's the last thing that you want to do, especially with the new rules underneath the CBA.
What a complete mess. Ninko, what do you think? How should this thing go from here? If you're advising any of the parties involved, how should this thing play out from here?
The Texans need to trade him, and they need to get as many first-round picks as they possibly can. And look, at the end of the day, you can't be the two alpha dogs looking at each other like, okay, who's gonna be the first one to back down? You can't do that in this particular situation. When you do that, it just makes the whole atmosphere